Welcome everybody to the Morning Update Show. I'm your co-host Trey Holiday, and it is a midweek Wednesday. We are breaking it down for you as always. Got to throw it right on over to my partner in crime, partner in rhyme. Ooh, Omari Salisbury. What's up, Omari?
Trey Holiday.
The big O. How are you today?
Man, happy hump day to you.
Yeah, there we go. It's nice and Wednesday, man. Camel style.
You know you always bring us some black girl magic to the set. It's always good to see you.
You too, man.
Man, you know, it's a lot going on.
Absolutely.
I mean, it's a lot going on. Today's show, actually, of course, we're talking about the air advisory, what's happening here. Governor Inslee updated the state around COVID as well as wildfires yesterday. Breonna Taylor, we talked about it yesterday, $12 million settlement there. There was the Hyatt hoax, the press release, the hoax press release where people went to the Hyatt thinking they could shelter from the smoke. We're going to be covering that. Andre Taylor has been appointed the street czar by Mayor Durkin. We'll talk about the closing of Marination Station on Capitol Hill. Also, it's Wellness Wednesday, and super producer extraordinaire Nikki Barron put a clip together for that. And Jake Gravbrod, so you know, I think he's becoming one of Seattle's favorite photojournalists.
Absolutely.
Checked in with Grandma's house, and then we've got a preview of Vote Black Love,
awesome.
which is coming on here. So let's jump right into it. First thing is put this up here, Daryl. Number one is air quality today, according to the EPA. And you can find this information on the EPA website there. Very unhealthy. So very, I mean, in case you guys needed to know, you couldn't see it yourself. It is very unhealthy. And actually, let's go into the next clip here, Daryl. This is from Steve Hickey, who's a photojournalist as well. And Steve Hickey put his drone up, and we got some footage here of how downtown Seattle looks in the smoke. And you can leave this channel open, Daryl. Basically, as you can see right there, smoke is everywhere, and so basically, it's 203 is the rating today. Very unhealthy. People with heart or lung disease, older adults, and children should avoid all physical activity outdoors. Everyone else should avoid prolonged or heavy exertion. And so, you know, it's a real serious situation that's going on right now with the smoke and the air quality in our city.
Yeah.
And we need to take this serious. There's already been an increase in the number of people going to the hospital with respiratory issues.
Yeah, I mean, there is even reports of folks that are used to jogging or biking and being outdoors, and now they're coughing up black stuff. I mean, there's a lot of reports coming out, and we do have to adjust. I'm glad that people are really taking this seriously and trying to stay indoors as much as possible.
All we can chalk this up as is another one for 2020.
Yeah.
I mean, it's hard to explain everything that's going on.
Can't predict it, man.
No, and another thing, we've got a clip here. So Governor Inslee addressed the state yesterday, talking about what was going on with COVID as well as wildfires. We've got a short clip here from Governor Inslee.
Good afternoon. It is a somber day in Washington State, not just because of the clouds of smoke that we are suffering under. Yesterday, our state inauspiciously passed the 2,000 deaths mark of folks we've lost because of COVID-19. We mourn every single one of those lives. Every single one of those lives are not just a number, they're a family that has suffered because of this pandemic. And those families are in our hearts and will be in the months to come. This has been a year of tragedy for so many people in our state. And to them, I'd like to say that 7 million Washingtonians would like to embrace you and the trouble that you're having. And you are not alone. We are in this together, and I believe that's the fundamental precept that we have to keep in mind in the state of Washington. We've also now seen more than 80,000 COVID confirmed cases in our state. It's another significant and sobering number regarding the severity of this pandemic.
So as we see right there, Governor Inslee stating that the state of Washington has gone over 2,000 COVID deaths, 80,000 positive tests, really urging people in the state of Washington to stay vigilant and wear masks even after the smoke clears. Also pointed out what we brought up here the other day, the article in the Seattle Times, Washington State University's example. Inslee said the campus has seen at least 800 cases to date. Some days saw a 70% positivity rate. He says if Washingtonians don't take the virus seriously and gather together indoors, basically what he's saying is that guys need to take it serious because it's getting ready to be cold, cooler, people are going to be indoors and everything else, and it sets a situation where the virus can spread more. Yeah. He says these are not modest bumps, these explosions that can happen and are in smaller communities, not just in downtown Seattle. And some businesses, talks about the pain that businesses are seeing around COVID, and we have another story with that around like the Marination Station. It's serious business right now, and like I said, 2,000 deaths, 80,000 positive tests.
Wow, we have been on the forefront of COVID reporting since all of this broke. So I'm glad that we're able to again follow this through and keep those numbers at the forefront of people's minds. We all need to be safe right now, man. We don't know what's going on out there in the universe, but it is definitely making us be more cautious out here in these streets, man.
Yeah, I just talked to a friend this morning who got COVID, and it's like 6 or 7 of them because they're all together. COVID, man, it's serious. It's serious business out there. Now, back on the national front, yesterday we talked about, actually the press conference was happening the same time as our show yesterday in Louisville, Kentucky. The city of Louisville made a historic settlement with the family of Breonna Taylor, $12 million settlement. The mayor was there, made an apology to Breonna Taylor's family, and they talk about police reforms in Louisville. There's a clip right here from CBS Evening News last night.
The city of Louisville, Kentucky said it will pay its largest settlement ever in a police misconduct case. $12 million will go to the family of Breonna Taylor, the young African-American woman who was shot to death by police in her home in March. The city is also pledging new police reforms. CBS's Drika Duncan is in Louisville tonight.
We don't get it. Shut it down. Outside Louisville's Metro Hall, there were cheers of support for an emotional Tamika Palmer, Breonna Taylor's mother. Inside, she received an apology from the mayor.
I cannot begin to imagine Ms. Palmer's pain, and I'm deeply, deeply sorry for Breonna's death.
The $12 million settlement is one of the largest in the country, involving a police shooting death.
Come outside.
But 6 months after Taylor was fatally shot 5 times during a no-knock warrant raid, no officer has been charged.
We still are demanding that Kentucky Attorney General Daniel Cameron bring charges immediately against the police officers that murdered Breonna Taylor.
Taylor's death has sparked more than 100 days of protest, and today's settlement includes family demands on search warrant reforms and social workers added to some 911 calls.
Today, I felt like pressure was applied.
Late today, we spoke to Taylor's mother.
I don't think what I've asked for has been anything other than what she deserves, and it's been justice from all along.
And demonstrators out here once again tonight in honor of Breonna Taylor. Breonna's mother just arrived here moments ago. She said she wants to keep the focus now on that criminal investigation, calling on the Attorney General to make a decision involving those officers who were involved in that fatal shooting that night.
So $12 million settlement. People are, even we saw it right here in these comments just now, people are like $12 million, it doesn't bring a life back. There's still the big question about a potential criminal case.
Period. Yeah, and that's the thing is that, I'm really hoping that the criminal charges are still getting pressed forward in terms of her losing her life at the hands of police. We can't forget about that. We can't forget about how they entered her home and all of that. So again, we definitely need to press forward on that. I'm hoping that this settlement doesn't overshadow the fact that there still needs to be justice in her name.
All right, we'll stay on top of this case here, Brianna. And really, to be honest with you, I don't think that the issue, even though there's a settlement that's out there and they're talking about police reform in Louisville, I don't think the issue around Breonna Taylor is going to disappear. And even you heard the family say, whether this report or another one, they're like, continue to say her name. Mm-hmm. Bringing it back here to local news, your girl, Council Member Shama Sawant. We talked about the recall efforts that are going down right now to recall Seattle City Council member for District 3, this district right here. We're in the Central District, Shama Sawant. We've got the article right here from the Seattle Times. You go ahead and pop that one up. Seattle City Council votes to fund Shama Sawant's legal defense in recall effort. So basically, the Seattle City Council voted yesterday from 7 to 1. And of course, there's 9 city council members, but Shama Sawant recused herself from the vote. They voted for 7 to 1 to fund her defense in the recall. They're estimating that the recall will cost about $75,000 in her defense. And basically, from that end, first of all, the dissenting vote was Deborah Juarez, and Juarez says that, being the lone vote, Juarez said she would have first considered whether Sawant was acting within the scope of her official duties before deciding whether to fund her legal defense. So Juarez was the lone no vote. It looks like they're going to court today, and it says that the state constitution allows elected officials to be recalled for violating their oath of office or acts of malfeasance while in office. The last person that the city council covered their legal fees was back in 2011, when it was then council president Richard Conlin over his support of the Highway 99 tunnel. If the court agrees that it can go forward, there'll be 10,000 signatures required. And it says here, from residents of Sawant's Capitol Hill-based district, in order to send the recall to voters. These guys, central districts in their district as well. But this is the second recall issue going forward. There's also a recall Durkin that's out there, and basically the people who are pushing recall Sawant, they have about $40,000 that they've raised. But the big thing is they're being represented by John McKay, who's a former U.S. attorney during the Bush administration, and people who operate in that ecosystem say that John McKay, he's a tough one. So the recall Durkin team, they have a real high-profile lawyer. Recall Sawant has a real high-profile lawyer, and so we'll see what happens. They're supposed to be in court today. It was on Twitter yesterday. It didn't really get a real positive response when people like, man, the taxpayers are paying for the defense. The taxpayers are paying for the defense. But it's within the city council's purview. As long as the city council and the city attorney both agree, then they can fund the defense.
Wow, this is, again, I think so many things are playing out right now in this time, in this zeitgeist. Literally, I think for me, I'll speak for me, and so I think my experience might be similar to others out there, but I'm learning so much about the political process through all of this kind of chaos and things kind of spurring in the chaos. I'm learning so much about how actual processes work. Because again, I think there's been disconnect, and now people are so plugged in because these things, and we realize how important these decisions affect our communities. So this is going to be another one that's going to be interesting to see for sure.
I really think that this Sawant recall is going to be a real deal battle if it goes through the courts and it gets out there. I think that it's going to be way more of a street fight than the recall Durkin. just for the fact of Sawant's organization, her ground game, and everything else. I mean, Sawant probably has the best actual on-ground game of all city council members. You know, her party was the Socialists. They're very organized on the street. So, like I said, we'll see what plays out. We'll update everybody after the court makes a decision.
Yeah, man, this is one.
So yesterday is a story that, man, that we covered, and actually Bobby Stills, we dispatched Bobby Stills downtown yesterday. And, man, this is just unfortunate all the way around. But, you know, early yesterday, we actually got tagged in some tweets that was talking about the Hyatt was going to open their hotels to offer to the unhoused for relief from the smoke. But in reading it yesterday, it didn't, you know, press release has some certain criterias and everything else. And so, I mean, it's very rare that we retweet things at all anyway, because that's like the Converge thing. If we see it, if we whatever, then we tweet it. It's very rare that you find us retweeting. So we never retweeted it, but I followed it throughout the day on Twitter and to see, like, you know, what this was all about. Because if you remember when COVID first came, there was these fake posts saying that there was food available at this place or food, and you go out there and there'd be hundreds of people in line outside of a grocery store to get food, and it was just a hoax. And so we just kind of sat back and we're like, okay, well, man, let's see how this goes. Well, apparently that press release circulated through the city, and at one point, then we got a phone call that there were some homeless advocates down there at the Hyatt. They were, I guess, trying to get a room. And I tweeted out, you can put this tweet up here, Daryl. I tweeted out yesterday, happening now, Grand Hyatt downtown Seattle is currently in lockdown after what appears to be a fake press release that invited homeless to shelter from smoke. Producer Bobby Stills being denied access to the building. He reports homeless are now occupying the lobby. So now, the biggest thing about this tweet is that everybody loves Bobby Stills. And so I knew it was a problem when Bobby was like, yeah, man, you know, it's locked down. I can't get in the building. I'm like, oh. So I actually went down there. Our offices aren't too far from the Hyatt. There was a group of people that were inside. The police, when I arrived, the police were also arrived at the same time. Ultimately, what happened there in the hotel is the police talked to the people who were inside the hotel and convinced them to leave outside. By the time they got outside, there was homeless advocates and also a group of protesters that were sitting outside the Hyatt. Not that big of a group. There was a group of protesters that were sitting outside the Hyatt. And at the end of the day, like I said, it turns out that it was a hoax by a group that was trying to shed a spotlight on the lack of housing, the lack of adequate shelter from the smoke, everything else. Bobby did talk to, I believe his name's Hank, yesterday, and we got a short clip of that.
What did management communicate to you guys? When you asked to be sheltered, what was the response?
Management said that they had no idea about any press release and that it had been confirmed that the press release was a hoax. That is all management would say to us. We asked if management would be willing to open up the vacant building that they have, the Hyatt Regency, that is completely vacant, is wide open. We asked if we could be moved there. They denied that as well.
And then when police officers arrived inside, what was their response? What did they communicate to you? And how did you guys eventually decide to exit the premises?
Police officers told us that we had a 35-second time to leave the premises, and that we would only be able to speak to a commanding officer, that we would not be able to wait inside for a representative from the city or from a representative from the Hyatt.
Thank you for your time.
Yeah, I'll be honest with you, I haven't gotten that much response like on Twitter since like the CHOP days, like the protest day. Lots of opinions that were out there, wide-ranging. Quite a few people were like, well, man, the Hyatt should just let them stay there, you know, fake or not. Then of course, other people were like, you know, it's a private business. Other people was like, man, it's just mean to put something out there to use homeless as a prop per se. Yeah, there was a long statement that came out by a group that we can't identify, so we can't really put it up on the screen. We don't know who it is, but yeah, it was kind of unfortunate. It was kind of funky yesterday, huh, Bobby?
The energy was off. I mean, honestly, there was some energy off a little bit yesterday. And honestly, that is an example of it right there. I mean, I kind of agree. It's really, I work in housing justice, right? Obviously, it is a big issue in our city. But to utilize people who are really seeking refuge and seeking shelter, kind of taking, time out of where they could maybe be finding some actual shelter. Here they are, at the Hyatt, and it feels like a game. But also, I think some folks are just trying a lot of different creative measures to put the issues up front and make sure people don't forget, right? It's a conundrum.
Yeah, I mean, what we're seeing right now as well is it's a shift in tactics by a lot of different people, organizations, and everything else. And like I said, it was interesting yesterday. It got a little hairy there for a second. It looked like it might go down for a second between the police and some of the crowd that was assembled there. But the situation kind of de-escalated itself over time. But for a few minutes there, 8th Avenue right there at Pine was obstructed. You had the homeless, the unhoused, the housing advocates and protesters on one side. You had the police there on another side, and the people were able to figure it out. But yeah, the Hyatt hoax, as we call it, but it is shedding a spotlight on some issues, and apparently, the hoax worked because we're sitting here talking about it.
There we go.
You know what I'm saying? It made the news.
Yeah. Well, I'm glad that people were able to walk away safely. That's
I mean that is a big thing that people were able to to walk away safely in that sense. And actually, we ended up making the news. It was crazy. My tweets were all over all these different big news sources. I had no idea. People were sending them to me last night. Andre Taylor, not this time. All right. So Andre Taylor has been named the Street Czar, and so this is from publiccola.com. Publiccola.com. You got this one up there, Daryl? All right. So he's been named the Street Czar. The city of Seattle has signed a $12,500 a month contract with Not This Time, the grassroots group founded by community activist Andre Taylor after his brother Che Taylor was shot and killed by 2 Seattle police officers in 2016. So under this agreement, Taylor, the city will pay Taylor a total of $150,000 over 12 months to act as the Street Czar, providing community safety and de-escalation services. He's also getting office space there in Municipal Tower. It says here that he's to provide recommendations to the city on de-escalation, community engagement, and alternatives to policing, and to continue Not This Time's conversation with the streets program, amongst other responsibilities. And it says here, the contract says that Not This Time will work on urgent de-escalation of conflict and violence between police and community assembling in the Capitol Hill neighborhood.
This is interesting. I mean, this is interesting. I mean, for me, it's very interesting. That's all. I mean, that's the word that's coming to mind for me right now. I think there's a lot of people working on this. I think maybe there's some partnerships that can form out of this. I think there's going to be a lot of opinions on the streets about this. I think we kind of saw it. We saw it right here. Some of the footage that we actually captured when, you were calling for leaders in the CHOP, and then he appeared in the CHOP, and people were like, what are you doing here in the CHOP? It didn't go so well. So, this is something that we'll have to see how it plays out, honestly. We do want de-escalation tactics. We do want a community approach. This is an interesting partnership.
Well, Andre Taylor has been working with the city for a while. conversations with the streets. We saw that, and during the protest, Andre Taylor was basically right there at many of the mayor's press conferences. During CHOP and the Western Barricade, we saw that Andre Taylor was right there with the mayor. The street czar. So it's a few different things. Is that I don't know why the term street czar. It's a bit problematic to me personally. And is because he's black? It's the street czar. Like, why not just de-escalation specialist?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? It's a street czar. Has a big connotation, and I think that. Especially when we were out there on Capitol Hill, and we're still out there a lot, and still talk to a lot of protesters. These aren't necessarily people that you would term as the streets. In our community, the black community, streets. A lot of times we might say, gang member or gang affiliation, or someone in that marginalized kind of space. That isn't necessarily, at least what we see up on. Is that what you see up there, Bobby? Capitol Hill?
People from the streets?
Like gangs?
No.
And so, it's confusing in the way, one, that the city has presented this, because that what we see on the ground there on Capitol Hill isn't a population that at least us in our community would consider the street population. Like, we know the streets, you know what I'm saying? We're right here, in the Central District. And so the term street czar is, I'm having a bit of difficulty with that. And then, but because he's black, like I said, is it street czar? And then also, is it like, man, us people are only street?
Right.
We're all black. I got one daughter graduated from college, the other one in college, the other one on the way. Man, I don't have any street affiliation. I know everybody on the streets, but there's a big population that's in our community, just like any other community, that just goes to work every day and comes home. Right.
And that's why this is my word interesting is real for me, because a lot of the times I'm absorbing the news when I'm sitting here, right? And so this is one that I think we definitely need to follow. When we talk about following the money, right? I just go back to some of the things that we've been following. When we talk about following the money, we knew that there was going to need to be an agency, some sense of, hey, how is the city and the government connected to the community? We did see Andre Taylor, appearing with the mayor several times during CHOP and Chaz. But this is something that I think a lot of folks in the community are going to have to also absorb and realize, like, well, wait a minute, I'm not connected to him. Like, how did he get chosen to be this representative of the streets or do this work? I think there's a lot of question from me and my person specifically about that, because we talk about that all the time, and we talk about backdoor tactics that kind of happen in this top-down approach where, we've seen this in the black community time and time again, whether it is one agency, one person, whoever, this preacher or that person or this, it doesn't matter. Ultimately, the idea is that city government can work with one entity, or, hey, we're talking to these people. Again, we see that black is not a monolith. When you have these people, unfortunately, they don't always represent everybody that you're hoping they represent, and they're not connected or plugged in. So this is going to be an interesting thing to follow.
I think that for me as well, and words matter clearly. That like I said, the phrase "street czar" is problematic.
Yeah.
Especially since. Which one is it, or is it some of everything? Because there is a big community that's working with the de-escalation in the black community, and they could definitely use more hands. All hands on deck. Yeah. And whether it's Paul Patu, we played his interview yesterday, from Urban Family, or the Willard Jimersons, or the Drake Franklins, or the Coach Doms, or the Sean Goods, or all the anonymous people who every day are working hard in the community around de-escalation. Look at people up there at Rotary basketball and sports coaches and tutors and everything else that are in our community, even somebody like Earl Lancaster, the barbers. I mean, it's a community effort for de-escalation. So they are working every day to de-escalate these black streets in this black community. And when in reading this, where it's saying that, okay, well, de-escalation, again, of this population up on Capitol Hill, where a lot of the protesters there, which is really, it's a mixed bag. There's people from all kinds of backgrounds that we found there, at the protest. Does the title Street Czar actually engender a bridge building and communication between that population that's up there on Capitol Hill? I mean, that's what just really jumped out to me on this is, like I said, it's urgent de-escalation of conflict and violence between the police and community assembling in the Capitol Hill neighborhood. And so, we've talked to some people. They contacted us, people who were in the protest movement and everything else, and they're kind of like, well, the streets are. And that's not to take away from Andre Taylor's efforts. He pushed through I-940, and I-940 is the actual law that the Officer Nielsen down there, who's actually facing charges for the murder down in Auburn because of I-940. Andre Taylor's done his conversations with the street, brought a lot of dynamic people here into Seattle for conversations with people. But like I said, I think that spinning it out as Street Czar, and yeah.
Well, also, too, what you just pointed out in terms of it being about de-escalating Capitol Hill, which really what we see in Capitol Hill is protesters. Again, not street beef happening in Capitol Hill. It's protesters. And it outlines right there that it's about people in Capitol Hill and their interactions with the police. So for me, in the black community, again, this isn't addressing the crime that's happening in the black community against black people. Like, that's not really addressing it also, because we're seeing a rise in gun violence and with our youth dying in these streets. And I'm wondering how much of this work is going to impact that. For the black community, we're facing a crisis in gun violence and shootings, like 100%. It's unfortunate up there in Capitol Hill. People there's protests that are going on. I'm not saying protesting is unfortunate, but the protests are going on, but nobody's dying. Right. Nobody's dying or being murdered or being shot up there on Capitol Hill. But in our community, in the Central District, in the South End, it's an outrageous uptick. And even outside of our city, especially in South King County, the gun violence issue that's there. And so, like, sitting here, of course, I'm not talking for the whole black community, but sitting here in the Central District on 23rd or 24th and Union in the Liberty Bank building, the big issue in our community is gun violence. Yes. Period, point blank. And so when I heard originally Street Czar, I thought, he's going to be de-escalating gang violence. I initially went 100%. Straight to gangs and what we're seeing. And some of it's not even gang affiliation. Some of it's just youth group and this beef and beef. You know what I mean?
And actually a lot of it isn't gang. It's young people with guns. Right. That's what I thought as well when I saw Street Czar. So, we were actually supposed to have Andre Taylor on the show a few weeks ago, but, our timing didn't work out. I reached out to him about, I think it was Saturday. Mm-hmm. I reached out to him as well before this news came out. So it'd be interesting to get Andre Taylor on the show and talk to him about what he sees as the next steps in, what he measures as success in his position as Street Czar, and what some of the tactics are that he plans to employ to, let me get it right here, to de-escalate, for the urgent de-escalation of conflict and violence between the police and community assembling in the Capitol Hill neighborhood. Mm-hmm. So, I'll reach back out to Andre Taylor and see if we can have a conversation with him about what his tactics are.
Yeah, I also think it'd be important for the community to understand what are the deliverables of that kind of job? That's like a new thing in the mayor's office, right? This is a new kind of partnership. I think the community would like to know, like, what is it that you're supposed to do in that role? Like, what are the deliverables that the mayor is expecting you to bring back? I think that would be interesting too. So we'll see.
Well, I mean, one of the big deliverables, again, right here, urgent de-escalation of conflict and violence between the police and community assembled in the Capitol Hill neighborhood. So that's that. But, you know, this news brought up something, you know, real interesting. Putting Andre Taylor to the side here is that for over a month, every day, we asked for people to come. We asked for people to come and help de-escalate. We asked for people to come and, you know, find a way to be able to be a buffer between protests and the police. It's especially once that Monday and the tear gas came out. It was like, man, we asked for people. We asked for elected officials. We asked for clergy. We asked for just regular people, you know, who were willing to really put themselves in harm's way to try to de-escalate what was going on out there. And then even after the Western Barricade fell, you know, in CHOP, there was a constant need for de-escalation, for people who were just willing to sit here and talk to people and everything else. And to be honest with you, I won't say that nobody came, but man, I mean, the call went unanswered, you know. So the city hall is moving on the issue of de-escalation now. But man, we put out urgent pleas time and time again on live stream, saying, please, someone come down here. Where are our leaders at? Where are our people who are willing to sit here and try to de-escalate this situation? And man, nobody came.
Right.
You know, and you found that it was just a bunch of people who didn't necessarily have the skill set that did the best that they could. You know, I got a clip right here, right, and I think I'm gonna pull out a few more. This is a clip right here from June 6th, and you'll see in this clip, you know, how fast things can move along. And you see, like, I mean, this is me in this particular clip, and this is an SPD, and we got another one we're pulling out tomorrow. I didn't have time to pull it out today, where it's de-escalation between two factions and CHOP, and it's actually Bobby Stills, and you know, where he's just bringing some people down, like, hey guys, or whatever. But I want to air this clip. I got to tell people, because, you know, people get triggered. You will hear some flashbangs in this clip, and you will hear, unfortunately, some profanity from me. I'm much better now, but just wanted to show you, like, how fast things can move along. And, you know, if there's only one voice out there trying to de-escalate things, that voice can get drowned out quickly.
Also, it looks like they said they got rid of tear gas. I think that was a tear gas launcher. The tear gas launcher is right there. Here we go. Hey, we got it. Here we go. Share the stream. Share the stream. Share the stream. And I didn't bring the fucking goggles today. Share the stream. Share the stream.
Seattle Police Department.
I can say it a lot calmer now. Here's the guy. Here's the gunner.
We ask that you move 5 steps back from the fence.
They're asking 1,000 people to step back. They're asking 1,000 people to move back. Share the stream. Share the stream. Tweet it out. Tweet it out. Share the stream. Share the tweet it out. The police are here. Here's the police. The police are at the barricade. The police are at the barricade. The police are at the barricade. The police are pushing back the barricade. The police are pushing back the barricade. Pepper spray in the air. 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 Let's do this. Hold on. How can we calm it down? How can we calm it down, though? How can we calm it down? How can we calm it down? How can we calm it down? Somebody's in a wheelchair right here. Somebody's in a wheelchair behind you. So hold on. Somebody's in a wheelchair. Oh, you motherfucker. Who is that? Is that guy? That fucking gunner. Hey, bro, you know you're fucked up. Oh, you want to give it to me? You see him? You see him? You see how he threw it at me? You see how he threw it at me? Fucking piece of shit, man. Look at you guys. Look at you guys. You guys heard me say it was a woman in a wheelchair behind me. Here she is. Here's the woman in the wheelchair.
I mean, like, we was calling, and you know, for us, we're just media people, you know, camera operators, photojournalists, writers, but there was such a need on the ground for just real-time de-escalation. It was such a need that was out there, and man, nobody came. You know what I'm saying? We was out there, you know what I'm saying, for a month. For a month, we was out there every day. Please send people. Please send people. Not even just when the Western Barricade was there, but even when it was CHOP. Like, please send people. Me and Bobby Stills and Eric Calligraphy, we find ourselves just in the middle of so many things, most things that never made camera. We find ourselves out there. We just, man, needed help. And nobody came. So, you know, I mean, I'm glad that, like, you know, in a larger sense, that the city is like, okay, well, man, how can we work on de-escalating things and everything else? But I'll be honest with you, man, people are late to the party. You know, and it's a lot of just regular people who was out there who might not necessarily, I didn't never take no de-escalation classes or no, you know, nobody has a certificate in that. And all we could do is a lot of times, you know, put ourselves in harm's way. So, you know, I'm glad that people are talking about investing in de-escalation. Let's see how it works out or whatever. But people should remember that for a month we asked for people to come, and ain't nobody come out there, you know. And so one thing we got is footage, and like I said, you know, I mean, this was police protesters. Tomorrow we got some other stuff, you know what I'm saying, with in the CHOP where it's just individuals. But you know, I want the viewers to know that we called for people for a month. Nobody came.
Yeah, I think it's so important to constantly utilize that footage to keep it at the forefront of our minds when necessary. That is another example of how things were unfolding on the streets so rapidly, so much variety of perspectives and people and voices and, you know, and intentions. But honestly, for you to pull that footage out right now when there is this swell of like response, it's important, man. And it's important that people do remember and that they never forget how things really were in the CHOP, how things were and how they were unfolding, man. I'm glad that Converge was there on the front lines and that footage is within our vault so we can make sure that people remember how things went down there. And thank you for that. Oh, and you guys were definitely in the middle of it, man.
Yeah, we got a few more headlines, but I think we're going to take a break right now. When we come back, we've got a segment from Nikki Barron, Wellness Wednesday, and then also Jake Gravbrot caught up with Grandma's House. You are watching the Morning Update Show.
That follows us, donates to us, supports us. You know, we have a staff here that works really, really, really hard. A lot of volunteers that come through, and you know, we're trying to make some really, really good stuff for you guys. And we're a growing company, and you know, please, you know, even a handshake coming up in public is worth something to me. We get a lot of love from you guys, and I just want to reciprocate that love to you guys and say I appreciate it. It really fills my heart with joy when people come up and recognize me for some of the work that I've done, and it makes me really proud. And I get a lot of my friends and family tell me about how proud they are, and that's the thing about it is we've been working hard at doing this for a long time, and we want to be able to bring other people into our family that are continue to do good stuff. And so, you know, all the help we get from the public, you know, we appreciate and keep watching. And we hope to make you guys proud, and you know, and I'm open to any suggestions for some stuff you guys like to see, you know, I'm here.
Converge Media produces culturally relevant content for Black and urban audiences. Our coverage is raw, transparent, and objective, praised by community leaders, government officials, and residents. Support Converge Media today via Venmo, CashApp, or PayPal at Converge Media.
All right, welcome back to the Morning Update Show.
Yeah.
And man, Trey, you know, we got chats with Trey. It's ready to blast off. We got an episode on Friday. Tell us a little. Well, actually, let's play the promo for it here real quick.
Yeah.
Trey.
Yeah, I'm so excited, man. I'm thrilled. And shout out to Carlos Imani, one of the producers right here, man, putting it down, making sure those promos get added. I'm really excited because sitting down with Sisters Rock the Arts, man, they are iconic in our community. So many people know them, and they offer an amazing platform that allows for musicians to come on and do open mic with live band. It's amazing, and I'm so thrilled that I was able to sit down with them. So, yeah, stay tuned Friday at 2 p.m.
Friday at 2 p.m. it is. All right, next up, our super producer extraordinaire, also known as the Whip, Nikki Barron, produced another segment here of Wellness Wednesday, and it's very timely as well because she shows our audience how to make basically a filter, an air filter at home, just using things that most people have at their home, a box fan, and just go grab a filter.
In the Pacific Northwest and down the West Coast, wildfire smoke and poor air quality is expected to last the rest of the week. Health officials are urging people to stay home, close windows, and if possible, filter the air. For today's Wellness Wednesday, I'm going to show you how to attach a furnace filter to a box fan to help alleviate some of the smoke and ash inside your home. You'll need a box fan, duct tape, a marker, scissors, and a filter. Try to get the highest quality grade filter possible. If your fan has the controls on the back, you'll want to turn the fan to the on position before attaching the filter. Lay the fan face down and mark the location of the cord. With scissors, carefully make a small hole to run the cord through. Attach the filter to the back of the fan with duct tape. As you can see, my filter isn't quite large enough, so I had to tape up a few inches of the fan to create a seal. The whole project took me less than 10 minutes, and I can feel a difference already.
Yeah, that was amazing, Nikki. Once again, I'm super thrilled because it's Nikki's first day at LBB with us. So, yeah. We get
Welcome
to promote
to the set, kiddo.
Yeah, no, absolutely, man. She holds it down so amazingly. So I'm glad that we now all know how to create our own filter at the house. Thank you, Nikki.
Yeah, because you know Big Mama and them got that fan.
Right,
that,
you know
that box fan right now. So a lot of people are like, well, I have a Big Mama and them got that box fan. So even if you're good, now you know how to go over to Big Mama house and get that air filter cracking.
Exactly.
You know what I'm saying? Next up here, Jake Grabrot, which is man, he's just growing and thriving in the Converge creative space. Joined us specifically just as a photographer, and he's kind of growing more as a videographer. And he got out there in the community and did a segment here on Grandma's house, and basically caught up with Amber Amber is the founder of Grandma's House, a nonprofit that meets every first and third Sunday at 5 p.m. in Pioneer Square to feed and provide goods to the unhoused population. Here's Jake Gravbrot's segment.
Amber Compton, and I am the founder and director of Grandma's House of Seattle, Washington. We're a group of volunteers, kind of a ragtag team of neighbors that came together about 4 months ago to address a really major need in our community. We have a serious problem here with our unhoused population. There's people suffering, going hungry, and forgotten. And about 4 months ago, we all know a man named George Floyd was murdered, and I grieved hard when he called out for his mom. I felt that in me, and I really looked hard at myself and wanted to figure out, what can I do to be a better ally. I did a lot of introspection and realized I had so much privilege and was not doing anything with it. I'd had times of being able to do more for my Black loved ones and not, and I wanted to do something real in the community. And I started realizing that our unhoused population down here in Pioneer Square was probably, one, due to COVID, getting almost no resources and no help. Now a lot of resources were going up to Chaz, so I saw this need, and I just said, we got to do something about it. So one day I got up and started putting it on Instagram. I was like, all right, I need toiletries, I need snacks, we need tampons, pads, we need camping supplies, we need water, and slowly just groups of people came together and sourced it and decided to make a spaghetti dinner. And that's how we started the hot meal portion. From then on, I made the promise to them that I was going to bring them a hot meal, and I started showing up in Pioneer Square and slowly attracted volunteers, and it's turned into this big thing where now we provide clothing, shoes, we do a hot, full balanced meal. We're getting camping supplies to people. We've even started a pop-up non-perishable food pantry, and it just keeps getting bigger and bigger. And my goal with this is just basically to fill in the gaps in services that aren't being provided to people.
So when I spoke with Amber, one of the things that they mentioned that they need more than anything else is, you can probably guess it, cold, hard cash. That is something that can really help to ensure that those meals are purchased, that the ingredients and the items that are needed for this are all able to be secured beforehand, as well as you may have noticed in the video itself too, there's a U-Haul rental truck that they're able to use that helps to store all of the items that are donated and then driven down to the location there on 1st Avenue South, just to the north of Yesler in an empty parking lot. Obviously, donations, volunteers are also incredibly important. So if you're interested in following along, you can find them and find more information out by following them on Instagram at Grandma's House Seattle. If you're also interested in donating to the cause but don't have the time, you can find their Cash App. That's $, Grandma's House Seattle. And if you really want to find out, or give yourself to this cause, time. The donation of time as a volunteer is really one of the most important things that you can do. So follow along, find out how you can help. If you've been wondering what it is that you can do, this is an opportunity for you right here.
All right, so Jake Gravbrot there, Grandma's House.
Man, you gotta love Jake, man. He be having some dope. I love it because his pieces always remind me of my days at King 5 when I was at the assignment desk doing the human interest stories. That's what Jake does so well. Like he pulls the heartstrings, man, with the stories he grabs. I love it.
Yeah, and what's crazy, especially on his other kind of photography, on protests, everything else. This guy's like 6'6", man, 6'7", but he moves like a ninja. You know what I'm saying? saying? You find them kind of everywhere. Before we get out of here today, a show that we rolled out back in February, and then COVID hit, and we kind of, we weren't able to move forward with the production. We played a short clip of it yesterday when the Pickets were here with Devon and Kiana, and we're talking about Vote Black Love 2020. A lot of times in our community, there's really no good choices, but you can never go wrong with voting Black Love. This is coming to the airwaves in October. Here's a short clip right here with Taco and Tia Yarborough.
Oh.
We're the Yarbros. I'm Taco.
I'm Tia.
And this is our love story.
So we've been together for 14 years and married for 12.
So we met at a choir rehearsal.
No.
Which way?
We met at church.
Oh, you talking about the very first.
The very first interaction.
When you were shady. Okay.
I was not shady.
And I was like, will
I
you?
remember that.
And then it cuts off. And then I was like, marry me. And then I feel the
But it stopped being about each other. And so COVID helped us to return to, wow.
We matter. You and I matter.
Yeah. Thank you for listening to our love story.
We're the Yarbros.
And Vote Black Love.
So the best thing is that, October is just going to be full of political ads, political this, political that, which is important. You know what I'm saying? We've got big elections coming up, but it's also going to be good to have an empowering kind of show here that reinforces the beauty around relationships in our community.
I love this. It's probably one of my favorite shows that Converge is coming up with, man. We talk about doing roundtable talks with couples and singles and just talking about love because it is a big issue in our community. So I love this.
Yeah, I love it too. Man, so one last thing I would like to say to our audience out there is, again, we operate off of donations.
Yeah, we do.
And we be stretching it. You know what I'm saying? Just like our big mama and them taught us.
Yeah, right. Make it enough.
We stretch it. You want to encourage everybody. You can visit us on Patreon. There's a Patreon. There's a tier there. It's a low tier. There's a bigger tier too, but there's a $5 a month tier. You know what I'm saying? If you like what we're doing, and you're finding value in our production and our news and our different kind of shows that are coming on air, you can go to Patreon and just look up Converge Media. Facebook also has an option to subscribe and support us. Then also, one-time donations, okay. Venmo, PayPal. There's one other one.
CashApp.
Mm-hmm. Venmo, PayPal, CashApp, all Converge Media. So definitely appreciate your support. But, I'm saying if you can't donate that, a whole lot of, some prayers be working, because there's a lot of prayers done saved all of our butts plenty of nights, right, Bobby? You know what I'm saying? We're taking prayers, good energy.
Right. Meditations, all that.
Shares, retweets, and everything else. So, you ready to get out of here?
It's that time.
It's that time. All right, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for joining us for another edition of Morning Update Show.
Always, man. Thank you, guys. And please, once again, stay healthy out there. We see the air isn't quite clear today, so please maintain that air quality health.
All right. Till tomorrow at 11 a.m. Peace.
Every voice and sing, dealer than heaven ring with the harmonies of liberty. Let our rejoicing rise as the listening skies. Let it resound loud as the rolling sea. Sing. song full of the faith that the dark past has taught us. Sing a song full of the hope that the present has brought us. Facing the rising sun.